and the Burlington County Times, July 1st, 2022. I'd like to ask at this time if we could have a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Hey, Mr. Heiser, could you please do the roll call?
Dr. Alberti. Mrs. Arcaro Burns.
Present.
Mrs. Fallows Macaluso.
Here.
Mrs. Micopoulos.
Here.
Mrs. Morano.
Here.
Ms. Romano.
Here.
Mr. Villanueva.
Here.
Dr. Snyder.
Here.
Mr. Weeks.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Heiser. Okay, we already conducted our executive session, and again, I apologize for that taking a little bit longer than we had expected. And to my fellow board members who came in as we were starting, I'm sorry, we were just trying to get it going to not continue to delay our audience here. So I will move forward and ask for an approval of the minutes for the following meetings that are attached as Exhibit 23-1. The May 17th executive session and regular meeting, the June 14th exec session and regular meeting, June 29th, same, and July 6th. May I have a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All in favor of approving those minutes?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
I have to abstain from the one meeting I wasn't here. I can't remember the date. I'm sorry,
I
Mick.
think it was
Can
was
I
it
blame
June
it on
29th?
COVID?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
thank you.
Okay. Okay, give Mr. Heiser a moment to note those. All right. Moving on, any communications for members or from members of the board? No? Okay, president's remarks. This is where we'll make up some of the time. Welcome again, everybody. Hope everybody's having an enjoyable, happy and healthy summer. Realize just this week, I think we have less than a month until school starts again. I was not going to share that sentiment, Mr. Eagles, but I'll leave that there. But it's also a very exciting time. You know, as things get ramped back up, we're looking forward to getting back in. I was surprised. Our family went on a bike ride the other day. We rode over to the US where my son is a rising fifth grader, and he actually said he's ready. He's ready to come back to school. So hopefully that persists. And hopefully that it's the same for everybody else. We're ready to get back into the flow of things. So with that, I will conclude my remarks and turn it over to Mr. Volpe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I will add a little bit to the meeting because my comments today are going to be a little bit longer than usual. So my apologies if you were looking forward to something short. But as Mr. Weeks said, as the last weeks of summer come to a close, I hope that you've had some time to relax and connect with your family. Throughout the course of this summer, our administrative team and many of our teachers were still interacting with students, as well as preparing for the new school year. During the month of July, the UES was abuzz with student activity, as both our extended school year program and other grant-funded programs were in full swing for 4 days a week, where students were able to have some fun and work on their school skills. I had the opportunity to spend 3 full days at UES during that time, as well as checking on some other days, and it was great to see our teachers continuing to engage our students. In July, I was also thankful to Brain Freeze Ice Cream Parlor right here in Morristown on Main Street, as they allowed me to host an ice cream with the superintendent at their business. That afternoon, I had the pleasure of engaging with about a dozen parents, many of whom I bought ice cream, who wanted to get to know me a bit and had some questions about the school district. I also got to meet our senior class president, who went out of his way to meet the superintendent, Adam Connor, who wanted to meet with me. It was great interacting with the community in such an informal setting, and I look forward to doing more such events in the future. The 22-23 school year continues further steps along the way of our return to normal in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Essentially, where we left off with our protocols will be where we pick up the start of this school year. To be clear, we will be mask optional. We'll follow CDC guidance pertaining to positive cases needing to isolate for 5 days. We will not be doing contact tracing, but will inform classes as a whole with a generic letter of a positive case, and that parents should monitor their children for symptoms. As there will not be any identified close contacts, no close contacts will need to quarantine. These are all things that we did last year when we made some changes in this area a few months after my arrival. The area of change will be in instruction. Studies are starting to show that hybrid and virtual learning, it was not good for anyone. Knowing this, if a student needs to isolate, it'll be treated like any other illness. Schools can and will provide work to be done at home as we do for any illness consistent with our procedures. And if those aren't clear or known, we'll make sure that parents know what those are. When students return, teachers will also work hard to catch them up, as there's no substitute for being in classroom with a teacher. However, it's my belief that virtual and hybrid learning does a disservice to all: teachers, students in the classroom, and students at home. The bottom line is that I believe kids need to be in school for effective learning to take place. Indeed, this should be the year that students have more in-person learning days than they have had since the start of the pandemic. Let's all take this as an opportunity to take advantage of this and be in school in front of the teachers unless you are sick. Along those lines, please consider taking family vacations outside of our school calendar to maximize that time. You may also remember that this past spring, the curriculum committee of the board reviewed our current health curriculum guides posted online and found them to be a bit lacking. This was reported out to the public and the full board during our board committee reports. The guides, when reviewed, included the state standards, unit topics, and then stated, "See your supervisor for details." In the light of the new health standards released by the state in 2020, Dr. Benton, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, and I prepared a sample guide that is more specific and included more details pertaining to the units, the big ideas being covered in those units, as well as the specific learning objectives. The curriculum committee was unanimous in support of our guides being updated with such a scope and sequence. As promised, all updated health curriculum guides will be posted on our website before the end of the month. Any parents who wish to review these guides will be able to do so before the start of the school year. If there are any areas of the health curriculum that you would not want your child to participate in, you can contact your child's principal, who can inform you of how to do so. To be clear, though, as I had stated in the spring, my teaching staff does a great job and teaches appropriate health curriculum lessons in a developmentally appropriate manner. The fact that we have updated our curriculum guides before the start of the school year is only going to help validate that fact. However, health education is the one academic area in which parents can choose to exclude their children if they wish to have such conversations as a family. So I'll send out a message before those are updated so that people can know. Speaking of teachers, I would like to make sure that during the course of this year, we celebrate teachers and other staff members and Morristown's teaching staff specifically. I'm not sure what it's going to look like, and I'm not sure when it's going to happen, but it needs to be done. Recruiting new teachers is getting harder and harder each year. Right now, we still have some openings that our Director of Human Resources, Ms. Butler, is looking to fill, and it's not due to a lack of effort. Young people are not going into this profession in the numbers that they used to. There just aren't the numbers of people out there that all the schools in New Jersey need. This highlights the need to focus not just on recruitment, but the retention of our current teaching staff. With so many vacancies out in the state, all school districts are starting to find that experienced teachers are starting to compare contracts from district to district and decide if they want to stay where they currently are and perhaps have tenure or make a jump for potential higher pay. As superintendent, I am committed to making sure that Morristown is a place where people feel included and want to stay for a myriad of reasons. Additionally, when it comes to my work in advocacy, I would love to see the state of New Jersey take some pressure off local tax bases and incentivize stability in school districts. One way they could do that in school populations is through creative ideas such as potentially setting up a sliding scale of state tax credits based on years in education as well as years in one particular district. Working together, we can indeed find solutions to the teacher shortage, which has now been declared a crisis by some. I want to let people know I've had success in the area of advocacy recently. This past year, as the legislative chairperson for CJ Pride, it's a human resources organization I'm a part of. I was a part of a team of many organizations that focused on eliminating an unnecessary certification requirement for teachers. My work in this area was covered both by New Jersey 101.5 and the NJEA review, not two outlets that you would normally assume are on the same page when it comes to education. But I'm happy to note that after a year of advocacy, every assembly person and every senator in the state of New Jersey, Republican and Democrat, voted to repeal this requirement known as MTPA. There were no dissenting votes. We look forward to the governor signing this bill hopefully soon. And my point in telling you this story is there are some legislative solutions to our problems, not just here in Morristown, but in all New Jersey school districts. And it's time everybody is on the same page. It can be done, and I won't stop my work in this area to make sure we are fully staffed for our students. Finally, at the end of the 21-22 school year, I'd promised to make a presentation to the board as to some of our ongoing efforts in school safety and security. This is one of my own personal goals for this year, and it will become some building level goals too. For obvious reasons, I can't tell you and the public everything we do to ensure safety and security, and the fact that I cannot do that hopefully makes you feel more assured. However, there are some efforts that you should and need to know about, and that will be part of my presentation tonight. And I am going to get up and go over to the microphone because I don't know how to do the presentation and turn around and speak in the microphone here at the same time. We're almost there. Okay, yeah. Okay, you can go to the next slide. Oh, never mind. I can do that. Thank you. I want to let you know how important that safety and security in our schools is to me. For the board members who I'm so thankful for who hired me, you may remember this from my presentation to you. I literally took this on there. That one thing I was going to stress to the people in the community of Morristown is that providing an outstanding academic education for their children is not my top priority. And usually there's some heads that come up and eyebrows. My first priority is to ensure that there's a safe and comfortable environment in which that outstanding education can take place. And that means psychologically safe. It also means our building and our facilities and making sure that we are safe from the outside world as well. Not that there's things to fear, but we always want to make sure we are doing our best for students. So that has been a priority of mine since I've been an administrator, and it continues to be here in Morristown. So here are some of the things that we're going to be doing this year that I want the community as well as the public to know about. We are going to make sure that we are implementing the standard response protocol across all buildings consistently. This little pamphlet right here, we are eventually going to have a copy of that in every classroom in the entire district, as well as a grab and go for evacuation procedures that will help teachers signal if they need help, if everything's okay, or if immediate triage is needed. So the standard response protocol is common language that's used among law enforcement. It can be used with parents, it can be used with staff. There's essentially 4 different drills, and we had a presentation on that for my administrative staff today, who's going to turnkey this to all staff. So we're going to make sure we have common training and common language used throughout the district, and we're going to train on this annually moving forward. I know the district has been trained in this in the past. COVID got in the way of a whole bunch of different things, but we are going to annually train our safety and security measures until my teachers are like, my gosh, we have to do this again. Yes, we are going to have to do this again because we want everybody to be safe and secure. The state also requires that every school district has one school safety specialist, someone who coordinates with law enforcement and makes sure practices and procedures that are up to date are implemented in schools. We have 3. One is Brian Carter, our principal at Roberts School. One is yours truly. I'm a certified school safety specialist. And Gavin Quinn, our supervisor of science, took the training this year. So we have 3 school safety specialists who will be meeting on a regular basis to make sure our security procedures are updated. I also want to stress too, to my staff, to my administrators, that the most important thing when it comes to school safety are our habits of the mind. I don't want our schools looking like, prisons with walls and gates and barbed wire and those kinds of things. But I do want to make sure they're secure. Sometimes, believe it or not, in our school buildings, perhaps doors don't close the whole way. I want my staff in the habit of the mind is when I let a door close behind me, Do I look and see if it actually closed? Do I pull it to see if it's locked? Automaticity is good, but habits of the mind are very important too. So that's something that's going to be really newly stressed this year. We're also going to update and improve our drilling. And I want to let you know what that means. We have already, the school safety specialists have gotten together. We've assigned all of our drills for the year. We know which drills we're doing every month. Principals will know that, and staff can know that right away too. We've also included a drill. It's not required by the state with an internal communications breakdown. We're going to pretend our PA system doesn't work, and then we're going to pretend our phone system doesn't work. And how do we execute a drill? Because that could happen. We are inviting the Office of Emergency Management to all of emergency drills, not fire drills, but our emergency drills. I think that position in the town is still vacant at this time. So as soon as Chief Walzak has that filled, that person will be invited. The Morristown Police are going to be invited to all drills. A school safety specialist, one of the three of us, will be invited and should be on site for all emergency drills. Now, I want to make it clear. We're going to invite all three of those people. They may not show up all the time, but it's going to be our intent to have another set of eyes outside of the school on at all of our drills, because immediately after each drill, the crisis teams are going to meet immediately. We do a lockdown drill. After the lockdown drill, crisis team is getting together in the main office. We do a lockout drill. Crisis team is getting together in the main office. So that may involve principals getting some coverage, some meetings being delayed, but we are prioritizing our drilling and our safety and our security. If something went wrong in that drill, we don't want to wait till the next month's faculty meeting to say, hey, what about that? We want immediate results, and my principals are prepared to do that. We're going to improve our internal communications for a potential crisis situation, and I had mentioned this. Main way we communicate is with our PA system, and it's something I'm going to have to look at over time in replacing some of our PA systems here. But if our PA system goes down, how do we communicate with everyone? Well, although it's new, it says new right there, we don't have new phones. What we have new is a detailed procedure from our Director of Technology, Mr. Jeff Ari here, that can let administrators know how to dial into the phones very easily and then broadcast into each individual classroom and use that as a PA system. It was kind of hidden, it wasn't really known. Jeff has made that very clear, and that can be used. So next question is, what if our PA system goes down, and what if our phone system goes down? I want to make sure we have a third way of communicating. And what I've done is I have looked for reasonably priced walkie-talkies that are for internal building communications. I ordered 200, and I'm dispersing them amongst the schools with the goal over the next couple of years of having a walkie-talkie available for each room in every school if needed. Now, teachers may not be having these all of the time, but in an emergency situation, I expect that my principals will have some kind of incident command where they tell a guidance counselor and a secretary and their vice principal, you hand out these walkie-talkies to these rooms, you hand out these walkie-talkies to these rooms, et cetera. So that if all communications go down within minutes, we have a way to communicate with everybody, and we'll make sure that everybody isn't on the same channel. Because if you've ever used a walkie-talkie, and if I got 80 people on channel 1 on the walkie-talkie and you press the button, well, you just took out all 79 other walkie-talkies because you can only speak and listen to one person. So if you have 10 people on one channel and 10 people on another channel and 10 people on another channel, you can be communicating with each other up the chain of command. So that's something that's going to be worked on this year. So I want the public to know that if our PA system goes down and if our phone system goes down, we are still going to have ways to communicate in the event of an emergency. I'm going to really oversimplify building-based teams that we have in here that are going to help out with all emergency type situations. We have crisis teams, which are what you traditionally think of. These are the people who will be debriefing after emergency drills. If there's a crisis in the building, these are the people who are activated and they oversee the drilling in emergency situations. There is some overlap in these teams. Some people will serve in multiple roles. We are putting together threat assessment teams to identify students of concern, assess them, and see what next steps may be able to take with them. I don't want to recount stories in the media or throughout this country. We know sometimes there are troubled students who have caused damage in our schools. We want to be able to make sure that we attend to those and deal with those. We also have a school safety and climate teams. This addresses climate issues such as harassment, intimidation, and bullying, which sometimes can lead to dangerous situations. So we have all three of these teams active during the course of this year, all with a little bit of a different role, but all focused on school safety and security. If you're really interested, I'm going to make this presentation available on our website for anybody to look. So while I oversimplified that, If you want to look at this more specifically what a crisis team does and who is on that, we have that on here too. I'm not going to read that to you because it'll be available to you, and I know you can read through that. When it comes to the threat assessment teams, what I wanted to point out is obviously much more detailed for you to take a look at. It's new. This was signed into law on August 1st, so just a couple of weeks ago. And just to show you, sometimes in dealing with the state said it is implemented immediately for the next full school year. We're like, okay, you passed a law on August 1st, immediately for the next, we've got to get all this training and we have to do that. Well, through translation, eventually we learned that the next full school year means next July 1st. But I am very happy to say that Dr. Tate has been one of the leaders, along with some other people in our administrative team and our other staff members, that we started putting together a threat assessment team this past spring. Before it was a law. We're also not putting it off because doesn't need to be implemented till next year. We are moving forward with this to have threat assessment teams in our school to make sure that students who need help or maybe need some other kind of resource will have access to that. And we'll be talking about that with our staff over time. Again, this will be available to you. School safety and climate teams are required by state code. Again, these are people who are anti-bullying specialists who need to look at building-wide practices. Speaking of things like inclusivity, does every student feel like they are involved? Do we have people who feel like they are outsiders who are being picked on? We need to make sure that all students feel comfortable and safe. So again, without going into extreme detail, I want to let you know we have 3 different teams at our schools, all with a different charge, but all who are somehow connected to school safety and security, and they will be implemented there this year. We're also a member of the Burlington County School Crisis Response Team. This is a service that some of our staff members participate on. And if there is something involving a tragedy at a school for any reason, we don't only mobilize our staff members to deal with students who may be in crisis. We can mobilize resources throughout the county to get them over here. Now, this is something that some staff members may not know we're a part of this, and some members of the public may not know. But I want to let you know, in addition to our mental health professionals who can help students, we have access to the Burlington County Schools Crisis Response Team. And again, this will all be available for the public to look at a little bit deeper. One of the things I'm really proud about so far this summer is when I reached out to Police Chief Walzak. I'd asked if he's had any new police officers in the squad over the past couple of years. And apparently he has, because what I have had is I've had our school resource officer, Brian Wright, take them on a tour throughout the buildings. You can see here that they've been they've been right there because we have WAMs right there. They've been at Baker in the high school, and we are rotating all of our local PD who are relatively new to the force to walkthroughs in our schools. This is outside of school hours. You know, right now we're doing it in the summer. So they become more familiar with the building so that if they ever needed to respond to an emergency event in a building, it's not the first time they've been there. They at least will have some kind of familiarity. And along the lines of law enforcement, I've been in touch with the New Jersey Regional Operations and Intelligence Center. They are a group of offshoot of the New Jersey State Police, but they also work with the Office of Homeland Security and Preparedness. And they are willing to come out at no cost to the district for 100% free to come and assess our buildings to see safety and security threats and make not threats necessarily, potential issues. There's no direct threats, and give us a list of recommendations. These recommendations can then become part of our budgetary process. They will recommend everything. They're looking at it from a law enforcement perspective, and they'll recommend, hey, you can do all of this stuff. But rather than us just take hit or miss, hey, I think we should put this kind of lock over there, or I think we should close these doors during these certain times. Why not bring in the professionals who do this on a regular basis, especially since I made contact with them and this is a free service? A lot of times school districts will contract with an outside private firm who will come in and who will charge you an arm and a leg and give you some recommendations of things that aren't necessarily something that you may want to do. The ROIC has no financial interest other than helping us out. And they're even willing to train Morristown Police Department members to do the kind of work that they do. The first step in this will be that my principals will all have to submit a self-assessment of what they see in their buildings to the ROIC, and then that will start. And I'm happy to say that our first ROIC walk, I'm not going to say which building right now, but it's going to be on Thursday midday. So it's my hope that over the next couple months, we have an assessment from the ROIC for all of our buildings. So I think that's pretty big too. Lastly, one of the things that I want to stress too is we are again bringing in the Stop It Anonymous reporting app. I again want to say too, and looking to be fiscally responsible for the district, this is at zero cost to the district. Our insurance carrier is picking it up because, quite frankly, it makes us safer and they want us to be using it too. Right now, the Stop It app is an anonymous way that a student, a parent, a teacher can report something that they see. And then it goes through a chain of command. Right now, we're going through administrative training on this, and we're going to roll this out to staff upon their return. We're going to start to inform the community about this during back to school nights. And it is my hope that we have this operational by October. Would I love to snap my fingers right now and have it ready to go? Yes, I would. But it does take time to do things correctly. I'd rather take my time and get it done right than roll it out in a sloppy manner. And essentially, what the Stop It app is, it's an anonymous reporting system. Someone sees another student post a picture of a weapon on social media and doesn't know what to do. You know, do I talk to account? Do I do this? Do I do that? They can go in the Stop It app. They don't have to say who they are, and they could say, hey, I saw this on social media and I'm concerned about this. And one of two things is going to happen. If it happens during the hours that we set for our administrative team, I'm just making this up off the top of my head, from 7 to 5. Our administrators will get like an immediate notification that, hey, this is going on, this has been reported. And what can happen then, skipped that. What can happen then is in the app and on a computer, they can dialogue with this anonymous person back and forth. What did you see? What's going on? I mean, the person can reveal who they are too, but can get to some help. So we know that these things happen. Easy question is, well, what happens after my administrators go home or are in bed? What happens when it's a weekend or it's the summer? The Stop It app has an incident response center, 24/7, 365 days a year. If it's outside of the hours we set where our administration is notified, the notification goes to them. And if it's a threat of a serious nature, they have signed a memorandum of understanding with the Morristown Police Department, and they will contact the Morristown Police Department for anything that they think is an imminent threat, just like any concerned citizen would. But the Stop It app will do that. So it doesn't just sit there and wait until an administrator, checks back in on Monday. The administrator can also be notified, but they are not, at 1 o'clock in the morning expected to be monitoring the Stop It app. So 24/7, 365 days a year. Then if it is something of perhaps a lesser nature, a bullying issue, something that is a code of conduct violation, the Incident Response Center will not send that to the police, but we'll have that forwarded to the administrator for when they're back in working hours to address it from there. If it escalates for whatever reason, it can get directly in contact with that administrator, but I don't have an expectation that my administrators are on the clock 24/7 monitoring this just in case. These people are at their Incident Response Center. So again, just to give you a little sense of this, I'm oversimplifying it because I'm taking much longer than I normally do for my superintendent's report. We can get it on phones. We can also, through technology, push it out to our students' one-to-one devices. I'm not sure every one-to-one device, Mr. Ari, so I don't want to speak it. Okay, we can push it out to every one-to-one device, but we know that most of our older kids carry around their phones. I have the Stop It app on my phone. So if somebody has their phone, they can put in, I saw this happening. It goes to emergency monitoring, which goes through incident management, and then can have a two-way anonymous chat, either with emergency monitoring or one of our administrators until we get that job done. And anything that is of a serious nature, we certainly could escalate to the police. So I want to let you know a couple things. If there's any takeaways that you have from the safety and security, we're improving our drilling. We're increasing our leadership capacity by having more school safety specialists. We are improving our internal communications by making sure we have working PA systems, a process to access our phones and walkie-talkies. We have 3 different teams of people who can respond to situations. We work with the Burlington County Crisis Response Team. We have our police coming through our schools. We have the ROICs coming to assess our schools and give us a report that this board can include as part of its budget. And we're going to be rolling out the Stop It app where students, parents, or staff can report anything of a critical nature. These aren't the only things that we're doing for school safety and security, but what I hope you can respect if you really want school safety and security is I'm not going to tell you every single thing that we are doing in the realm of school safety and security, but a lot of this is going to be delivered this year. So we're making sure we're making schools that very safe and comfortable place where outstanding education can take place. And that's my promise to you moving forward. I would be happy to entertain any questions from the board at this time, if we do have any, but for the members of the public, I know I went through that quickly. It will be posted on the website. It will go out with my superintendent's message. It will be available for you to look through.
Hey, thank you, Mr. Volpe. Any questions or comments?
Yes, Cheryl.
I just first wanted to say thank you very much for this comprehensive review and for just making this a priority for our schools. I think all of us can appreciate that. And it was very comprehensive and very much appreciate it. I think the Stop It app is a fantastic idea. I do see potential for abuse. And so I'm just wondering what type of experience we know about that other districts have had and what guardrails we can put around it to avoid that type of abuse as much as possible.
That's a very good question. A couple of things. What the Stop It app, when they gave us our initial administrative training in my previous experience too, in helping bring this into another school district, is when it was rolled out, there were a series of incidents. Hey, kids have a new app, a new toy. And I can't tell you how many times something was reported that I didn't get enough pepperoni on my pizza at school and I want somebody to be dealing with this. Unfortunately, in our world, we even hear sometimes people make ridiculous 911 calls like that. So to answer your question most succinctly, what I think we need to do with our students is really educate them as to why this is used and what the importance of it is. Do I expect that there's going to be some funny business going on in the beginning? Probably. But what Stop It has shown us through the data that they have is over time that wanes very quickly. It's like a new toy to some people at first, and then it goes back to what its original intent was for. But I want to stress to our students that it's not a toy, and certainly if someone said something that's a complete fabrication, there are ways that we could try to figure out who that person was. But it's genuinely designed to be an anonymous reporting app. So the more we educate the students about this, the better. Yep, you're good. Oh, no,
Dr. Green.
you're good now.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I know you said you're going to put it on the website.
Yep.
Can you also consider a different, putting it on our social media or doing one of your emails, superintendent, so that, some of the parents that aren't checking the website?
Yep, I'm probably going to do all that, but those
Okay,
are good
Great.
ideas.
Thank you.
My only comment was, and again, thank you very much for all the information, was about the drilling and just being mindful of the double-edged sword in terms of the cost of increased drilling, especially for certain populations of kids. So I don't have an answer or what I would do. I'm very mindful of that cost in addition to the obvious benefits.
Yeah, I think it's very important that we're developmentally appropriate, but that we use common language. And that's what's important in that training that I talked about is there's nothing that we're putting in there that's scary, although the fact that we're drilling could be scary for some students, particularly at certain ages. So we want to have common plain language that is not scary. And my principals need to make sure that we're doing things in a developmentally appropriate manner, which I don't have any doubt that we will be. To your one comment, Mark, about doing more drilling, we actually aren't doing more drilling. I just want to make that clear. We're doing what's required. We're doing one fire drill a month, and we're also doing one emergency drill a month. The difference this year is we already have them set. We know which is going to be which month. My principals don't have to scramble. What are we doing? Like, it's already set for the year. And the second thing that's a big change in the drilling is that our crisis teams are going to immediately debrief afterwards. So if there was a problem during the lockout, hey, because this door didn't lock, we're going to find out about that immediately. If during an evacuation, hey, you know what? These fire doors didn't close or something fell over and we had to go a different way and we're not aware of that. Those are the things that we're going to get immediate information for that we can address, which typically happened like, okay, we had a drill, there were some problems. Talk about the next faculty meeting, like see what's going on. No, we want to deal with this right now so it doesn't happen again. So that's a big change.
No, thanks for clarifying, because I definitely got the impression that there would be increase, but okay.
So I think that that last point is a good one, the immediate debriefing.
Yes.
Hopefully that will allow you to find those things so that you're not finding them at the wrong time,
Yep.
right? But I could think of something like, the walkie-talkies are great, and I know they're the tertiary system.
Yes.
However, when you do go to that and they've been sitting for a while, kind of figure out the battery isn't
Yep.
working, then is probably not the best time. So, I guess you're already thinking ahead to all those things like, how do we replace batteries on a regular basis and, or test them at least. So, yeah.
Exactly.
that's-
And to be perfectly honest too, well, let's put it this way. I'm a school safety specialist as designated by the state, but I am not a school safety expert by any
Mhm.
degree. And what I really like to, and I'm going to be focusing on in some of my comments at Convocation this year, is how we collectively work together as a team. Yeah, I have ideas. So do you people. So do you people. And I'm going to listen to everybody who's got an idea and see if we can make improvements in any way, shape, or form. These are some ideas that came from me from a bunch of different avenues. So if we have other things that come up along the way, I'm more than willing to listen and assume somebody's right and check out what we can do.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Go ahead.
Just
Yeah.
one more question.
Sure.
You mentioned at the outset, you drew the distinction between physical safety, which this was very much importantly focused on, and I thought it was great. But you also mentioned psychological safety.
Sure.
And when you're talking about the app, for example, Stop It, a big piece of it is kids feeling comfortable, even though it's anonymous, and that being in that psychologically safe space to actually report something when they see it. And I know that you have a lot of passion around psychological safety, and you have some goals in the appendix of the agenda around inclusion. Is there plans to do anything to focus on psychological safety within the student body and perhaps with the staff to foster that culture of psychological safety?
Sure, there's multiple. And I'm not going to be able to give you specifics right now, but yes, that certainly is a goal of ours. And one of the things too that I'm pointing out about the school safety and climate teams, we do have teams at our buildings. Now, again, I don't want to, it explains it, but it doesn't excuse it. And I use that all the time. COVID got in the way of a whole lot of things. And there may have been very active school safety and climate teams going on in all of our buildings looking at this all the time. But what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm on top of that for verification, and that is important to us, that people are feeling included and that we are doing what we're supposed to legally be doing by looking into these things, surveying our staff and students, and making adjustments accordingly. So yes, that is very important to me and should become part of our typical processes and procedures. Again, the only thing that I would like to say, whether it's my pie in the sky ideas about how to recruit and retain new teachers, or it's about school safety and security, I would love to be able to snap my fingers and say, yes, we can get it done. All of these things take time, and I appreciate your patience with that. And I appreciate you believing in my leadership so that we can make these things come to fruition. So if there's no other questions, I know I've spoken a whole lot longer than the board president did. So I'll take my seat at this time and just thank you for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Volpe. Definitely appreciate you prioritizing the security and safety of our students. Okay. Don't see any students to give student board reports, so we will move past that. Did any committees meet? Are there any committee reports? I didn't think so. I didn't know, maybe you guys snuck around and did it on your own just because you missed each other. All right, we'll move past that one. All right, we're to our first public comment section. So as usual with public comment, we please ask that you come up to the microphone, state your name and as much of your address as you're comfortable with. You'll have up to 3 minutes to speak. It's not necessarily a question and answer period, but please, we're eager to hear your input as we listen and make decisions and take action in our board meeting. Please don't address any individual board members and be respectful when you make your public comment. And this first one is about agenda items. So if there's anybody who'd like to make a comment about public agenda items, you can do that in this period. So I'll ask for a motion to open public comment on agenda items.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Billy Danielle Thomas, 539 North Church Street. Happy to see everyone. I hope everyone's having a great summer. In light of the statewide teacher shortage, perhaps the district might consider special initiatives such as the Men of Color Hope Achievers, also known as MOCA, out of Rowan University, which focuses on recruiting, preparing, supporting, and retaining males of color to earn certification through an alternate route program. The MOCA program provides placements for men of color to be classroom teachers in New Jersey. The MOCA program aims to attract 25 men of color into the College of Education's alternate route program, Aspire to Teach. MOCA is funded through a $475,000 grant from the New Jersey Department of Education. And I might add that the benefits of participating in this or a similar program would be of twofold, and also addressing the district's goals towards diversity, equity, and inclusion. One of the districts that I've been working with this summer, which is Bridgeton, is actively participating, and that information was shared with me by a colleague. So I thought it would be beneficial for our district to be aware of. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Okay, would anyone else like an opportunity to speak in this public comment period? All right. Think we're good. I'll entertain a motion to close public comment.
So moved.
Thank you. Second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, move it on. All right. So now we are in the reports to the board section. We have reports under letter A from the business administrator, board secretary. Let's see, the financial reports, treasurer's report, cafeteria report, the approval of budget transfers, and the approval of bills. Total of $13,167,493.39 for the bills. So approval of items 1 through 5. I'll entertain a motion to approve those items. All right, any questions, comments? Okay, hearing and seeing none. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, moving on. Letter 9. Letter A, the 2022-23 revised school calendar. Letter B, we're not going to include that. We're removing that right now. The superintendent's goals are listed in the agenda attachments, and those are available for the public to review. The board is going to take some more time to look at those and talk about that before bringing it back potentially for a discussion at the board meeting. So just let's see. So letter A, we'll go back to that one. The revised school calendar. I'll entertain a motion to approve that calendar. Okay. Thank you. Any questions or comments about the calendar?
I just had a comment. I just, moving forward, I know there was some discussion from the county about not having off this year. I would just ask the committee moving forward. I do think there needs to be more discussion about how our calendar can, probably look to have that day off if, with Labor Day, if it's late, moving forward, I do think, that's something that the district should, reconsider moving forward in the school years ahead.
So thanks for that. I'll mention, and I apologize, Lauren, I saw your email and didn't get a chance to get back to you. When that was discussed, and actually I was of the same mind of advocating for that. If I could kind of put her on the spot, Dr. Benton or Mr. Volpe, if one of you wants to speak to kind of the thought process behind that, because it was a deliberate choice. If you
So I think part of the conversation that we had was that it was also an opportunity on that day to create education and instruction around June 19th. Within maybe not just that day. And there was the conflict, I think, is that it happens right usually within the last couple of days of school. And so all of the end of school activities are kind of competing with that one day. And so we put forward an idea that I think we need to develop about how we could incorporate within, the appropriate curricula, social studies, within our SEL curricula, within our character development curricula, our English, like you could do it across several curriculum over the course of, instead of just one day, but several weeks, so that it is not this kind of standalone. It's, it's a holiday that has a lot of historical connections, as well as opportunities to discuss things that have happened and how we treat each other, and just a whole, it's a very rich topic. So I think that was one of the things that we did consider. And I know that, Mr. Weeks also brought up kind of another thought, was that it has, when you kind of look across the country, it also has been a day for community celebration. And so I think we would want to strike a balance between that. I know this year, just personally, my family, there were celebrations throughout that whole weekend. So I think we can strike a balance. I know that a lot of our clubs and activity, and groups also participate in many community, day celebrations. And I think it would be an opportunity for that as well, where Morristown could represent well within the community as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Dr. Benton articulated that perfectly, what our thoughts were, but also to the board members' points. This is something that we can revisit into the future. And I think we have a good plan to celebrate it, to acknowledge it, to stress the importance of it. But at some point, if it's more befitting of this community, more respectful of the day, that we recognize it as a day that, we don't have school, we can do that too. So all options are on the table, but I just want to make it clear that what Dr. Benton said, so clearly there, was that we do intend to recognize that day and its importance. And in the future, maybe there's a different way that we do that. So all options are on the table.
So
No, thank you. And that's, I think that's what I think I
Charlie,
appreciate the
Mike, for the folks at home.
Sure. And that's what I appreciate. I think that's what, more not looking so much at this year, because I also know with the federal holiday, that was kind of just enacted, but moving forward, looking at how the community overall, looks to kind of, mark that day. So thank you.
Yes, and just to kind of come back on that, I was of a similar mind, Lauren, that this, could be a day for students to celebrate with their families or participate in community celebrations. But I was also compelled by the idea that as a learning institution, we could help set that understanding, set those norms, and further that goal. So that's how I evolved on it. Okay. Any other comments or questions about the calendar? Okay. So we have a motion, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. All right, as I mentioned before, we're skipping B for now. So the next section is educational programs, numbers 1 through 5. So we'll entertain a motion to approve those 5 items.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments about any of these? No? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Letter D, items 1 through 11. Okay, and there are several in there. So we'll entertain a motion to approve items 1 through 11.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments or questions dig deeper into any of these? Okay. All right. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Thanks. Moving on. Letter E, employee relations. This one, 1 through 27. I'm glad I set the precedent of not reading all these anymore. It's kind of on purpose. So items 1 through 27. I'll entertain a motion to approve all of these. Yes. And which one did we amend executive again?
We are removing on page 2 of the handout that was in executive. We are removing number 3 for approval.
Okay. So as Mr. Heiser noted, the amendment we made in executive. Okay. Thank you. Second. All right. Any questions or comments? And I'll start by just, I don't know, Mr. Volpe, do you want to comment, or Mr. Heiser, about why we have so many here, just to give some context? Sure, you can have that.
One of the reasons why we have such a long list in our essentially human resources portion right here is that the contract was thankfully ratified. And it was ratified after our June meeting where we reappointed everyone for the following school year. So everybody in June was appointed at their old salaries before the contract was ratified. And to make sure my teachers and staff members are getting paid what they should be getting paid this year, we had to relist all of that. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That is like 10 items of the 27 are simply reappointments of something we did already last year, but now with the new salaries. And the other things are more typical.
Thank you. Not only did we think that was important, we just thought it was important to have that context there so everybody knows what's going on. So, all right, any other comments or questions? Right, if not, Mr. Heiser, could you please do a roll call vote?
Dr. Alberti, Mrs. Arcaro Burns,
Yes.
Mrs. Fowles Macaluso.
Yeah.
Mrs. McCopolis,
Yes.
Mrs. Morano.
Yes.
Mr. Romano.
Yes.
Mr. Villanueva,
Yes.
Dr. Snyder,
Yes.
Mr. Weeks.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, now we're to the informational section. Under letter A, old business, I believe we do have one thing. Do I mention that or?
Yeah, under old business, it was accidentally removed by me during our agenda review, but we should have a motion to affirm the superintendent's finding of a HIB for item UES number 14. Again, this is to affirm the superintendent's decision on this.
Is that a roll call vote? Oh, you have the motion.
I just want to clarify something. I think you said confirm the superintendent's finding of a HIB.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the HIB finding, thank you, Mr. Villanueva. The HIB finding was non-HIB. So for the purposes of our executive session discussion, if you are voting to affirm my finding in this HIB situation. Okay, thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for calling me back on that.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion for that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay, is this a roll call vote?
I don't believe we have to do
No.
that by roll call.
Okay, all right. So then all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, one abstention. 7 in favor, is that correct? Okay, thank you. Any other old business? Okay, any new business? Nope. Okay, we're to our second public comment period. This is for agenda items that may not necessarily be on the agenda. Same parameters as before. I'll entertain a motion to open public comment.
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstentions. Thank you. All right. Would anybody like to comment? Okay, not going to linger on that one. Entertain a motion to close public comment. All right. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. All right. Is there anything else for the good of the order?
President Weeks, I don't know if it necessarily is good of the order, but I did want to, before the school year starts, as a liaison to speak, I really just wanted to remind everybody that the first meeting is September 22nd. It's at 9:30. And it is scheduled to be in the Star Center, which is attached to the high school, or it'll be online. And a Zoom link will be available. If you are interested in joining Speak, I would encourage you to go on the Facebook page and find contact info. It's a great organization. Find a lot of resources for yourself as a parent of a child with special needs, and also as an advocate for them, and really great support system. And we always have Dr. Tate at our meetings, which is a great resource. So I would encourage everyone to come out for it if you're interested. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Sakara Burns. Anybody else for the good of the order? Okay, hearing nothing else, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
Moved.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions. All right. We're all good. Thank you. Guess I'm supposed to-